Hi, I just wanted to make the statement. Excuse me. It's like my song. Sometimes something's in my throat. That's not the statement. I wanted to make the statement that, I'm doing everything, to honor my parents because, I feel that parents' wishes for who they wanted me to be, I always was, but just not on paper. I was always, looking out legally for my parents as well as their children, of which I am one. I was always looking out for them medically, you know, for my parents. And someone got into that. They're like, hey, we could just use what he does and say, copy it as a right. So that's why, I'll say, yeah, I'm Hungarian because immediately brings a protection in of more than one language. But more so, it just brings in, oh, there's more. And another thing important came up. And see, Mexico down is multi-nation culture. So in Canada, we don't use multicultural, but I'm very good at that, and it's not allowed to be used. But see, in South America, it would work if it's multi-nation culture instead of multicultural of one nation. Um, and since we screwed up to 20, we'll across all America, the age of 20 will be called Alien 20. So we'll have always an alien energy around us in America of what a 20-year-old would be like us. Like, yeah, I mean, the individual, like the personhood at 20, not being 20, not remembering when you're 20. It's just an energy of 20. So that in the year 2100, we'll know we'll have an issue of the age of being 21. So it'll be called Alien 21. And then hence in the year 2200, it would be called Alien 22. So that we know throughout the millennia, what the proper thing is, energy to base it off of. And it's the second millennial, right? It's the year 2000. And no matter what calendar, it's close enough. We're within 50 years of every calendar, so we're not that off. Um, yeah, and the calendars, you should see that Hebrew, or I mean, is it the Hebrew or the Muslim calendar? You tried it on the Apple, it's wild. I mean, the way they see the world, it's kind of our way too, but it's just, if you look at it from a Catholic's point of view, you're allowed to. They got some weird names for weird days on the bottom, especially on the Apple. If you look at it, it's really cool. But what I wanted to say is, I had always harping about the sexual being forced because at hospitals they're like, oh, you're right. If you're a patient ever at a hospital, you have to first go up to them and say, I'm not giving consent. So they made the onus on the patient to know everything. So they screwed them. And the truth is, the patient should always win at everything against everyone at the hospital they're staying with. So you're supposed to be treating them like a customer, right? Um, and anything they say, they're always right, no matter what. But what they did at St. Joseph's, like, with the sexual training, they're like, well, you have to tell us that you didn't want it because we have an agenda. And see, an agenda is a fad. It's a Canadian government. It's not government of Canada. So that's why I never go into the mental acts. Just go right to the government in Canada and say they tried to push Canadian government. Um, that might help. And while I was in the hospital, people should complain either and say, hey, that guy got screwed and write the rights people or ask for money or get money for me. Or for yourself, say that, well, if that guy got raped, then they're probably raping me as well. And all they did was dumb the part in the brain where I'd feel it. And that's why I feel dumb because there's always anal rape going on. And what they do is they got the perfect nerve so you won't feel it. But they know, and at times you will feel it, right? But like what they try to do with back pain is like make you stupid, right? They get back pain, numb where the pain is in your brain, so your brain isn't even working right. And then they're like, oh, you're not in pain. It's just a mental illness. But the proof against that is that disabled people with no arms and no legs, they're actually more conscious than I am. And I went to university, I studied international law. Like, so these people with missing limbs, how are they more coordinated? Point it. And the answer is because they're doing this anal sexual thing on me and the back thing or any pain thing and just trying to numb that sensor in the brain. But I can't have any numbness in the brain because what happens is then you have disabled people's and mentally and physically disabled saying doing whatever, which I'm neither. But yeah, you can make me into one. You can make anyone into one right now, right? And I'm not saying anything bad about these people on the air with no arms and no legs, being at a more astute on the level. I mean, but um, it's not normal for someone missing limbs to be more in the flow, European Commission flow, than someone who has it all. Anyway, speaking of England, I was studying Brexit, or no, I was studying European law when Brexit happened. I actually heard someone say, shouldn't he exit? And then someone said Brexit, and someone Bree was supposed to exit, and they just made it Brexit. I don't know if it's real or not. It might have just been an international law conference for how England's going to stand with regards to international law. They may not have left European Commission or Union. I mean, there's still old allegiances or not. I don't want to get into it, but my parents, they've been together for so long, and I always compare them to the royals because there's only a few years difference of how long they've been married for. Next year, it's their 69th anniversary for the royals, Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth II and King's Queen Philip, um, and I've never done that upside down sex nor straight up sex. It's only heterosexual, and I think I've done 5 moves. So, anyways, so I've done less than 6 to 9 different sexual moves, and I've never done a upside down sex or anything opposite 69 sex or any hiding or whatever of that way. Um, so I thought, for the 69th anniversary, it would be great to stay alive. First off, I'm not on a death wish, but to never have done a 69er on her birthday, and you know, somehow it should be a good feeling for my parents too. Maybe I could wait until they're 69 too, 69th anniversary, which would be cool. But also when I'm 69 years old, it'll be the 100th anniversary of this book called The Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So it'll be really cool if I don't do it. And then they'll be like, well, we have, that could change the world. Not change the world. It could verify, you know, a fact. You could be 69 years old and not be a sexual, right? So for the 100th anniversary, that would be interesting to be able to do something. But either way, even at this age, not that I'm in it, but because I know people who are, and some people think about it. And for some people, it's great. Just make sure you go in and you say, no consent. Go to AA, but make sure you get a document and get them to all know. If I walk out, I walk out. If the hospital comes after me, I walk back in. You know what I mean? Make some demands. That's what I do. And go only to Alcoholics Anonymous. But if you're, smoke pot, then don't really go to Narcotics Anonymous if you're slow. You got to be really fast with Alcoholics Anonymous. And any other Anonymous is don't go to the street ones. Try to find out where a private one is or a really good one. If you have to go out of town, if you have to drive 2 hours for a good meeting once a week, it's worth it. Even some people go to the States or whatever just for a meeting. And, there's supposedly hundreds of groups, right, for all kinds of things. So that's an easier way instead of telling the government you have a mental issue. It's probably that group that's trying to tell you you don't have a mental issue. It's just us trying to get a hold of you, right? So that's what I might have is some group saying, hey, you don't have a mental issue. We're just trying to get a hold of you to tell you. And so anyways, that's 2 good things. The Queen's anniversary. and well, my parents will be soon again, and to help, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous. And what I was going to say is, even now, at least they know that someone of my age hasn't done 69, or even though they know people in Alcoholics Anonymous. So it's not a really forcing sexual um, in a manner. It's really weird. Um, so that's it. And yeah, no, that's me playing on stage with my background picture. Looks pretty good. That was 2017, I think. And this one name, I think. Is it that? No. Yeah, you could barely see it on top in yellow. It's supposed to say Adam and D. Oh, it does say Adam and D. That's neat. Love my pictures and stuff, but it's hard when everybody goes against everyone and steals one person. Right, and that's me in 1997. We were just doing a photo shoot. I wasn't scoping out. We were just showing, what's his name? Craig Retford. I need to find him. If someone could find the photographer Craig Retford and protect him, his family, his wife probably, or if not, um, he's a Canadian. Met him in '97. He was stayed at the same hotel. We lived on Sunset Boulevard, and he took these pictures. He's a great photographer, and the whole time he always caught me after. He's like, do something. I started, and then he took the picture. It was great, but that's me. Some people hallucinate their faces inside. They're like, oh, that could be me, and no. The irony is, warning, and never in my life, even today, have I ever thought that. So it's perfect. So it's like, oh, the guy on the tree who never thinks of robbing a person. No, that's Beverly Hills. Sorry. You could scratch your nose, even pick it inside, as long as it's the skin, it won't affect anything. Um, but they're after me. Um, anyone. Unfortunately, you could get anyone in anything. Um, so all I'm doing is readjusting my alien. An alien, there's an alien act with the European Commission. I actually have an actual alien, and I haven't figured out my family. But this is kind of what I do. I figure it out and then just initialize it for my family. But someone's like, well, my sister or my brother's like, well, why don't we just find out when he finds out? And you can't do that. I have to actually do the work and then let it kind of flow, right? Because it's not something you can read and then you're like, ooh, I'm a robot. Um, oh boy. Yeah, kind of maybe put judiciary down. May have to go judiciary. That would bite. And I'm probably going to stay in the European Commission until 2024 to see if I chose, an avenue, or to see if I'm going to stay in it. There's a 2024 plan and a 2020-2030 plan. But that's it. It'll take a while because it's just so, I think the people picking one avenue in America, it's wrong. See, that's if you're a European Commission working with them, they don't want you to just go everywhere and then, well, I could do this, I could do. They want one thing, and here in America's North and South America, we're understanding it as, as our work ethic, we only do one thing, right, and screw everything else. So it's really screwed, and yeah, I have no money. I never asked for any money. Um, people have to make money. So, there's this great economy I have. It's a world economy, and it's non-harm. It's non-invasive. It's like, well, we just want money, and we want to spend a lot of money. And me personally, I need things, right? So I'm gonna have to afford it. So it's not about having money and then seeing what I need. It's about actually I need these things in my life. And you'll realize it too. So in the time off, figure out what you're going to really do and what you need. Um, yeah, because there's a lot of money, and I want to make money more than musicians make. That's why if I could do the UNEU thing, then I could do some stuff. And it is kind of Hollywoodish, but it's kind of the way I always was in Hamilton, right? Um, and that girl whose twin sister was, or some twin sister was a Hamilton police officer, and she was a bartender at Hess Village at the Gown and Gavel. She's a sweetheart. Like, what was the point of her? Sorry, a car drove by and it just made me think of that. Anyways, but those times, remember I used to always go down and, I walked my walk, I held it on my own. I went there daily. I supported the music industry because I supported the people who just went down there and knew not why they were there. They went to West Village in the 90s just for the music vibe. It was about the live music vibe, right? And then the musicians going down, fighting with attitude, right? I never put up with it, but now I think about it, we musicians, we ran it, right? We knew who each other was and how good we were because I don't know how. You'd have to ask people like, well, Brian Griffiths parted. Um, I had a bad one with Tom Wilson once at 33 Hess. Oh man, nah, we didn't say much, but yeah. Oh, and Brian Griffiths, yeah. Before he died, I showed him my guitar. He held it, right? My new Les Paul. I asked him for studio work. All of a sudden, he got more studio work. So I don't know what he was doing. But then I was like, well, why don't you give me some lessons? And I was going to pay him like $100 an hour or whatever, just to see, so he could see what I'm up to too, right? To prove who I am. Then I spoke to him. Like I love him. He loves me. You know what I mean? I could talk to him anytime. He'd come up to me. I don't know what, he was very unique in our relationship. Um, he never did anything wrong ever, ever. He had class. That's one thing. He had class. Near the end, it got weird. It's like a pressure came on, like an anxiety that musicians don't have. It's like we're not like this. Why are we being forced this way? So I noticed that I spoke with him about the crossroads. The forks, I guess, in the middle of the road. Choose one. Your battle with Satan. There used to be a bar called Crossroads in Hamilton, but it has nothing to do with that. Crossroads of Life. It's in that movie. Um, I think the Crossroads. Yeah, it's Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai played the guitar. But I talked to him a few times. I said I went through one. It's like the Crossroads, or no, wait. And then I said I already went through it a couple times, and it was just like I think he went, and I don't know. He wasn't devilish, so there was no deal made. And yeah, I played with him a few times. Never on guitar with him. My sister hired him for studio work. Um, but I'd be able to hold my own even when I didn't have my Les Paul. But when I got my Les Paul, I practiced a lot because I knew just because it's a new guitar, I'd still have to hold up to who I know I am towards Brian Griffiths. I know, and he expects me to be that as well, and it's not an attitude or a competition. It's just, well, this is who I am. But vocally, I always held my own, and he never complained. Never gave me one look. He vibed off it. And I remember once, too, when he started doing the heavy metal, which I didn't realize it was a hint, there's a problem. I should have gotten on it. It's like I feel like I left him down because I kind of laughed at him. Like, not like that, but more like, like that, right? When I walked. Just that. That's the only emotion I ever had against Brian Griffiths because he was playing heavy metal and he's not allowed to. And not heavy metal, but it was more like my style. And you know, he gave me kudos. He's like looking right at me. I was like, wait, that's me. And I don't know what was going on at the time. I think he wanted to say, hey, I'm watching over you. And then someone got in him, right? Because people somehow are able to steal lessons and steal, they could actually go in a body and steal your finger work. So you could have someone who never played guitar, and you could do it so using memory and manipulation that this person who never played guitar could play better than me within 1 year. It's that sick. The pedophilic, opportunistic, pedophiling community is. They do that for their children. And then they go around the world or the city or the block, and they actually even move to places. Ooh, let's find a dying family or old couple who's really talented who never used their rights, and then we'll just take all their rights, make sure they don't get any, and then we'll live their rights, our family's rights, and in the future they never had. But and they do it vocally too. It's horrible. I never stood there wanting to sound like anyone other than Axl Rose. Robert Plant. Never really wanted to sound like James Hetfield. Um, but for sure that, you know, Axl Rose, because it wasn't my thing with me and him was it's not him. It's just I need that energy because that's my release as well. Like, that's the only thing. You know, I do it the same way. And then, you know, I said I'll never do it again because I was going to be joining a cover band. And, you know, I asked some people, and but this was years after I actually told Axel I was going to stop. And then I don't know what happened. He went into a coma. I don't know, or someone took his place for a few years. Some bad, like really bad stuff happened. And I was going through that too, but I stopped playing his music. It's like I failed him too. And this was, I think, after Brian died. Brian Griffiths died, and then they killed DJ Jones, who knew I was a smoking singer and guitarist. He always loved me. We had a different relationship. Um, but I don't know. Musicians, you just don't know. You know, I don't know. And you have to allow that too, especially with top musicians like that. Yeah, but yeah, Axl Rose, if I would have just kept continuing and, you know, just singing, none of that would have happened. But some sick stuff got into the city. Some jealous hatred of free. You know, well, the point is, I recently found out because of what happened at St. Joe's, how, you know, it has to be stated it's a rape because it's a technology where, like I said earlier about that, and I didn't realize my godmother when she died of breast cancer, and I think she went into remission. Then someone's like, hey, I didn't feel that her in remission, so they put her back because, you know, those people couldn't feel the drugs anymore, right? Because sometimes they do that. So what they do is when the person dies, they say they didn't die so they could keep that drug feeling in the body of so let's say someone dies and you still say, well, there's a cancer patient taking X amount of drugs, and then they split it amongst people, right? So they get a look-alike, say that they have cancer, and somehow use that energy as a free high. And yeah, it's horrific. Or they do, yeah, something like I don't know how to get rid of the cancer, but let's say, oh, they probably say the cancer's in remission, and then they say, but they still need the painkillers, right? And it's not a physical fact, but they just probably know the brain, the way it works, and how to manipulate cancer, and how it's healing. The medications are healing, and people find that healing and say, well, you can't heal cancer. And then people are like, well, you can heal cancer. And then all the time it's being healed and not, because these people are arguing, and, you know, there's no solid thing. That's why I only listen to myself. I'm my own doctor. I'm my own lawyer. Um, and I have to take care of my parents and their family. I need money to take care of them, to buy a house. I want to buy this house. I may have lost a $500,000 mortgage. Um, I mean, I got really screwed. And them forcing this homosexuality of, being raped, and then they just say, oh, it wasn't. So they keep you at that rape feeling, and then they try to hide it or whatever. But I feel like that rape happened, and it's just happening all the time, right? It's like, well, now you just don't feel it move. You just feel, you know, you were violated physically. It actually feels like a physical violation, and it's disgusting. And this was way before COVID. This is like COVID's just a cold, they said, right? And it's just homosexuals trying to hide their sperm. Bottom line, Moeen's Lickentoff, right? Well, I don't know, but I know him because if you guys think about it, right? Anyone who knows me in Hamilton from the '90s, any of my real friends or enemies, I don't know if you guys know this, but something always weird happens, right? Because when you know so many people or whatever, it's maybe a protection thing, right? So yeah, we vibed a few times. Not vibe. It was just weird. I'm just doing my business. Oh, why is he looking at me, right? And not now he's the president of the United Nations. And yeah, so he said there's an inordinate amount of homosexual NGOs in the United Nations, which means it's unruly, boisterous, just more, not irritating, but yeah, unruly, boisterous, loud. It also means too many. Yeah, so it's not enough. Because you'd say there's an inordinate amount of, right? The other one, which I never said that, but someone did. See, after a couple of years, I realized someone changed my mind by saying Adam's going to scream out and yell, there's an inordinate amount of heterosexual NGOs at the United Nations, stated by Moise Lickentoff, Secretary General of the United Nations, 2016. That's when I started realizing, hey, wait, if I'm saying this inside, maybe someone actually thinks I did say that. And I never heard it in my mind. It didn't bother me, but there was a feeling, right? So I think what they were doing was they're trying to find the emotion, and like the rape, to keep boistering it so that eventually to piss you off, to anger you so much, to make a sound of, and validating that sound by saying, oh, it's a memory, it's a psychosomatic memory of self desecration, right? So the doctors will say, oh, it's him who can't handle his life or did bad things, and he's living the guilt for the rest of his life. But with a rape, right, when it happens, they find an old rape memory, they make you scream, right? And then you make you hear it internally. Then they change that internal scream of you being raped that you never heard internally, right? Because when you scream rape, you don't hear what your brain says. But these people now, when with my videos especially, they listened to what I was saying, and they went into where I was thinking and stuff, the sickest stuff. And if you could do that to me, then you could do that. And that's the game they're playing. They're like, well, if you could do it to him, then imagine my child. Well, then I go to the neighbor. Why? And I should go to the neighbor and say, well, then why did you even move in this area? Why did you even decide to have a kid? You know? And then them knowing anyone at the hospital, I know it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what insanity is, but I know it's called Americanism. And by the way, I don't want to live at home. But if I leave, they'll kill them, right? But if I stay, they'll kill me because they'll just say, "Oh, see, anyone that is trying to communicate with me, it would be at such a high level. It would be smarter than anyone in Hamilton, anyone in Canada, really, legally now." So you have the EU or UE, EU, EC, EN. They're trying to communicate with me. The United Nations, New York, is trying to communicate with me. The United Nations Geneva saying, did you make the meeting? Did you call the NGO branch? Because you probably should have been gone to that meeting you needed to go to. Then you have United Kingdom with the royals who I contacted. And they're like, are you the one? Are you okay? Either way, your sister was our neighbor, right? So we have a neighbor rights for royalty, and that's for life, right? You can't equality that, but everyone in Hamilton's like, oh, we have royal rights of equality. That's why people are going around, oh, I'm princess. It's and a lot of it is it's not forced. They chose it the easier, softer way, and good for them. They use drugs. It's easier, softer, good. I never chose the harder way. That's the one flaw. I'll start with that because I have a new way, the best way for the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Not my theory. In truth, it's been taught wrong since the beginning, completely wrong. And I have a way that, it, like in 10 minutes, you could be cured. Like in the pamphlet says, you have a meeting with someone, 6 minutes, they could cure you. So if you go and party and stuff, don't worry, you could get all fit in 6 minutes. It's just a way of, what I think it is. They hit, those parts in the brain that they're trying to mimic me at. Well, there's only 6 parts, and all the medical doctors are like, oh, we have to find everyone, and then that's every addiction in the world. And then, no, it's just 6 areas of the consciousness you got to reach when you speaking to another. I probably reach you every single time, but the problem is, after I reach you, you screw it up and say that's only for me. He's talking to me, or it's for this, it's for that. But anyways, the easier, softer way, right? So, the opposite is the harder way, right? And that's actually the way I've always lived my life. And it has nothing to do with the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, nothing to do with religion. And truth is, the big book is actually known as the Book of Historical Fact, which is known as the Holy Bible, the New Testament and the Old Testament. Now, in Alcoholics Anonymous people, they think the big book is the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. No, when you say big book, it means actually the religion of Catholicism, or religion. It's based every word in the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have found exactly every concept in the book of in the Holy Bible. I have an Oxford dictionary or Oxford Bible from the 1800s, and not that I found it there. It's in every Bible. All those concepts, they just redid it in a way. And truth is, it's just 6 things, and this is no one's business, so it's copywritten. But it's kind of funny, eh? The easier software. Not one person ever said, it's kind of funny. We all talk about how he uses one word and uses another word but means the same thing. Well, why didn't you use opposite? So when you're going through the book, here's a hint. Opposite some of the words, okay? So easier, softer, harder way. It changes your whole concept. And actors, that's the other issue. There's a point where everyone, the rich man in Florida who lulls, everyone does that. Those aren't alcoholics. See, the part of the actor, that's actually what humans are. Okay, we all have this. I'll call it alien now. Okay, whether you're an alcoholic or not or whatever, there's these concepts that a human. Wait, I won't call it alien because that's an actual right. So we'll call it an actor. Okay, there are just some things that people do, and it's actually I haven't looked up the term actor. Has anyone in the book, anyone who's in the meetings or fellowship, ever looked up actor? What it means? Like it would be kind of I wonder if I have So I'll tell you one way. Addition. I usually get it right. Account. Oh, I wish I had an account. So anyways, they think a Hollywood actor, right? But hold on. See here, it says actor as being a success. So when you're talking about being, and I never thought of this, but it's still my concept because it's still part of how I figured it out. So being an actor means you're already a part of success. So when you're successful in the act, these are acts that people who are successful go through. And it doesn't mean whether you're an alcoholic or not. And that's not really where I'm going through. Some horrible memory of a woman harassing me just went through, flashed through my mind. You know, an actor too, the stage of life, right? So, being an actor is just being a citizen. I mean, it could be just, citizens go through that. It doesn't say about only alcoholics go through it. Um, but actually, I don't want to really. An actor is just an action, right? So it's just when you're doing an action, that's an actor. Um, and everyone does action, so it's you don't try to stay away from the guy who complains about the world. That's a part of life. That's a state. That's a stage of success. You get to sit there. Like, are you not? Like, think of the opposite. So, are you going to sit there and not do that for the rest of your life on purpose? Isn't that weird? The Florida businessman who lolls about the world. So, are you saying you're never going to do that in your life? Because if you did that, you'd be what? It would curse you or something? See, that's where the book of and the people, they don't get that. They all screw that one up so large. Um, mm. And I did find a video once of a girl I was dating, a school teacher, a lawyer's daughter, and click, click, hmm, click. Um, just looking something up. I love words. I forgot what it was, but yeah, and oh yeah. So anyway, some people put videos out for only specific people, and these people, they're always on. It's like they know before I even finish. Yeah, and I'm not into communism. So they have communism here, right? And what they did, right? They go another homosexual, homosexual another, ha ha, homosexual another, homosexual another, or another homosexual another, right? So they're like communism, right? It's them controlling every part of your life, right? So what they did is they do communism here as as professionals. They do that. They do it by, well, we want the right of equality of knowing exactly what you do. Then we'll control it because then that's the only way we know who you are. So if we hit you in the face and if you say hurt, it hurts, or ow, then we know it hurts. But until we actually hurt you and find out how much it hurts you, we're allowed to do it as a point of equality. Now that's communism. Okay, theft of any information is proof of communism. If you know my religion, anything about it, even if I speak it, even if I tell you this is exactly who I am, if you use any of it or know it, that's still public communism. I mean, that's still dissecting. Like forensics, that's Americanism communistically. That's communism. You can't do forensics. That's exactly what communism is because what it does is it obstructs the flow. It makes a statement in the body, right? Especially if it's physical, if it's a physical issue, and then you do forensics while there's still physical issues, you would destroy the human in a second, and you destroy, if human, not ill nor sick, nor mentally, nor physically, nor spiritually. You destroy people who are perfectly healthy and force them into a communism until you go there and figure it out, then force another communism, claiming, it's what? Societal control is communism. A doctor monitoring you is communism. A government knowing you is communism. Right? And we don't want that. We know the FBI stated the end, Herbert Hoover, it was known, homosexuality as well as communism is the end of the world, or is the end of America. And that's probably all America, which is probably all of Asiatica as well, because America is a concept of Europe, which is a part of Asiatica, right? So you're talking ending the world, because if you get control, right? So then they tell you everything, how to think, what religion to think, what to do. Every single thing they tell you or want to influence or want to know, that's communism. Now, if that's a homosexual doing that, which they're doing to me, right? A homosexual psychiatrist, transvestite is still homosexual, all right? You know, especially with a rape, you can't have someone who even ever had anal sexual, let alone a doctor or a nurse having had that. Like, it's just an impossibility to have, especially with a physical issue. And then saying it's not physical, you're just feeling or anal sexual. So it's actually your problem. You're the one with the mental problem because you can't handle people at work having anal sexual and relieving themselves by meeting another and then, sharing their anal pain or putting it on someone and giving them back pain or something, saying, well, that's an equality for homosexuals who do have back pain or heterosexuals who do have back pain through sexual, and because you're not having sexual, we're going to force it onto you, which would then cause an even more of an allergy to a forced system of energy that, again, is an allergy, and plus an actual physical issue, which I had. And they're trying to profess it as, well, a simple thing. Let's just cut his leg off. He'll have something new to worry about. And that's what the AMA does. They're like, you know what? We screwed him so well. Let's just cut his leg off, his arm off, or something. Then he'll have something new to think about. He won't have those neural things, pathways that are called emotions the same way. And then we, as American Medical Association of the world, can run the world and decide, who gets to think what, whose emotions are whose. After all, who's more empathetic than a doctor? And I know my doctor screwed me on empathy. He stole it from me. One day I went in and he was always supposed to, that's his issue, right? I'm not his patient's patient, dude. And all of a sudden, he it's like, oh yeah, he went gay, he's homosexual, I'll treat him differently. That's exactly how he acted physically. All of a sudden, it ruined everything. See, he was supposed to be helping Sherpas because he's fat, right? So what he did is he started copying what I do. He's like, hey, there must be some equality. I'm a royal too, right? So someone used my royal rights for my sisters, or my family has actual royal rights in Hamilton. No one else does. And that's very private. But anyway, so all of a sudden he's doing that, and there's deals that I guess these people have, right? People who are freezing on Mount Everest and stuff, they have like, it's Mount Everest for some people. It's not the guy on the corner, you know, oh, the guy on the corner is freezing. No, like these guys are part of guilds, part of memberships, part of members, and if he has to help a Sherpa or a helicopter pilot to stop frostbite, then why is he changing the way that he is? To act like me, to then become something else and say, well, I have a duality too. Like, well, why are you changing who you are? Because you're not as smart as me? And they're all racist like that. They think that education, that if you go to get a job through education, that you're better than someone. And really, someone who never worked, never did anything, could be smarter than someone with a PhD. Because it has to be that way, right? And I was always termed as a Rhodes Scholar, is what my friend said, thought, oh, you want to be. That's an actual hard thing to be, and I shouldn't have said that. Um, but well, there's so many terms. Hmm. I could sit here all day and do this.